You're not losing money in the market because you're bad at trading. You're losing because the market is exposing the parts of you that panic under pressure, crave control, fear uncertainty, and struggle to stay disciplined when emotions get loud. And the scary part, most traders never realize they are fighting themselves more than the charts. You see, the same fear that made you hesitate in life will make you hesitate in trades. The same desperation that made you rush opportunities will make you overtrade. And the same emotional exhaustion that you carry privately will eventually show up in your account balance publicly. That's why the story of Hezekiah is so powerful, because he survived external attacks, but almost lost everything after the victory. And if you've ever blown an account after a winning streak, if you've ever revenge traded after a painful loss, if you've ever sat staring at charts, wondering why you keep sabotaging yourself, then this message is going to hit differently. And not for the reasons you think. You see, it's not because of trading. It's because it's about you. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Book of Proverbs 4:23. There are seasons in life when the pressure becomes so heavy that it feels as if the walls are closing in from every direction. Seasons where exhaustion sits in your chest like a stone. Seasons where you smile for people publicly while privately wondering how much more your spirit can carry. Hezekiah knew what it meant to live under that kind of pressure. He was not born into peace. He inherited chaos, fear, and a kingdom that had drifted away from God. Yet somewhere deep inside him was a hunger to rebuild what had been broken. You see, Hezekiah became the kind of man who dared to believe that restoration was still possible even after devastation. And sometimes the people chosen to rebuild carry the heaviest emotional burdens because they can see what life could become while standing in the middle of what currently is. Hezekiah began tearing down idols, reopening the temple, restoring worship, and calling people back to faith. You see, he was trying to breathe life back into a wounded nation. But restoration attracts resistance. Just because you are doing the right thing does not mean life suddenly becomes easy. Soon, the powerful Assyrian Empire surrounded Judah like a storm cloud, ready to consume everything in its path. Their king mocked the people publicly. Fear spread through the streets. Families whispered in panic. Soldiers looked at one another, wondering if they would survive. Imagine the emotional weight resting on Hezekiah's shoulders as he watched an entire nation look to him for answers while danger pressed against the gates. Leadership often looks glamorous from a distance, but close up, it can feel painfully lonely. The Assyrians sent threatening messages filled with intimidation and psychological warfare. They wanted the people to believe defeat was inevitable before the battle even began. That is how fear works. Fear tries to defeat your mind before life ever touches your body. But Hezekiah did something powerful. Instead of pretending to be strong, he carried the letter into the temple and spread it before God. You see, there is something deeply human about that image. A king with authority, wealth, and responsibility reaching the point where all he could do was lay his fears down and cry out for help. No performance, no mask, no ego, just honesty. Sometimes the breakthrough begins the moment a person stops trying to hold themselves together all by themselves. So when he did that, God answered. Overnight, the impossible shifted. The army that terrified Judah was suddenly gone. The people who expected destruction woke up to relief they could barely comprehend. Imagine the tears, the laughter, the overwhelming gratitude flooding through the city streets. Hezekiah had survived what should have destroyed him. But life has a strange way of testing people again after victory. Not long afterward, Hezekiah became deathly ill. The prophet Isaiah came to him with the devastating news: prepare yourself because you will not recover. It is one thing to survive external battles. It is another thing entirely to face a battle inside your own body. The same man who had stood against armies was now lying weak in his own bed, confronting mortality face to face. Hezekiah turned his face toward the wall and wept bitterly. Scripture does not sanitize his emotion. He cried deeply because the pain was a way of stripping him down to his most vulnerable truth. That moment, he was not simply a king. He was a human being, afraid of losing life, purpose, and time. Some tears come from heartbreak. Some come from disappointment. But other tears come from exhaustion after carrying too much for too long. Before Isaiah had even left the courtyard, God told him to return with a new message. Hezekiah would live another 15 years. God gave him more time, more breath, more opportunity, more purpose after pain. So for anyone who has ever felt emotionally buried beneath life, that part of the story feels like sunlight breaking through dark clouds after a violent storm. But the story does not end with healing. Success introduced a different kind of danger. After his recovery, visitors arrived from Babylon. They came smiling, curious, and impressed by Hezekiah's survival and prosperity. And something shifted inside him. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was relief after suffering. Maybe it was intoxicating fear of finally being admired after surviving so much pain. But Hezekiah began showing them everything: his treasures, his gold, his weapons, his wealth, his private storehouses. Room after room he opened up, everything exposed. Sometimes people who have been deeply wounded can become vulnerable to validation because they spent so much time feeling unseen during their suffering. So when the visitors left, Isaiah confronted Hezekiah with painful words. The very kingdom he had proudly displayed would one day take everything away. This story becomes heartbreaking because Hezekiah was not destroyed in his weakest moment. He was endangered in a moment when he felt safe, celebrated, and victorious. That is what makes the story so emotional and so deeply human. It reminds us that survival alone does not complete the journey. A person can overcome sickness, betrayal, fear, criticism, and impossible odds, yet still wrestle with the quiet temptation to lose themselves after the victory arrives. Hezekiah's life is a reminder that the human heart must be guarded, not only in seasons of pain, but also in seasons of blessing. You see, the truth is many people know exactly what it feels like to be Hezekiah, even if they have never opened a Bible a day in their life. Because pressure changes people. Fear changes people. Survival, it changes people. And one of the places where the emotional battle quietly reveals itself every single day is in the market. Trading has a way of exposing parts of you that everyday life can hide. It will introduce you to your fears, your impatience, your wounds, your need for control, and your struggle with uncertainty. The charts may look technical on the surface, but underneath every candle is human emotion fighting for control. Some people enter trading believing the greatest challenge will be learning indicators, mastering entries, or finding the perfect strategy. But after enough losses, enough blown accounts, enough emotional mornings starting at red candles, they begin to realize the real battle was never just the market. The real battle was eternal. The market simply exposed what was already there. Just like the Assyrians tried to intimidate Judah mentally before physically, fear in trading often attacks the mind first. Before a trader clicks buy or sell, thoughts begin racing. What if I lose again? What if I'm wrong? What if I miss the move? What if everybody else figures this out except me? Fear can become louder than logic if it is not confronted. And then there is exhaustion. Not just financial exhaustion, but emotional exhaustion. The exhaustion of trying so hard to build something while feeling like the market keeps pushing back against you. Some traders carry wounds nobody sees. They're just trading charts. They are trading while carrying rejection, grief, trauma, insecurity, family pressure, or the shame of past mistakes. Sometimes a losing trade hurts more deeply because it connects to an old narrative that already existed long before the market even opened. The loss becomes personal. It starts whispering dangerous lies like, maybe I'm not disciplined enough. Maybe success is for other people, or maybe I always ruin opportunities. And honestly, some people are not even chasing money anymore. They're chasing relief. Relief from struggling, relief from feeling behind in life, relief from constantly carrying the emotional weight of survival. And that pressure creates desperation, and desperation can make intelligent people abandon structure. It can make people overtrade, revenge trade, ignore rules, and risk too much trying to emotionally escape their circumstances in one single trade. The problem is that emotional urgency and disciplined execution rarely coexist peacefully. What makes trading so psychologically intense is that it constantly tests your ability to regulate yourself under uncertainty. A trader can do everything right and still lose on a particular trade. That reality frustrates so many people because most of life teaches us that effort guarantees reward. Well, the market doesn't operate that way. The market humbles ego. It humbles certainty. It forces people to confront the uncomfortable truth that control is often an illusion. And many people do not realize how emotionally addicted they are to control until the market refuses to obey them. Then there is the loneliness. Nobody really talks enough about how lonely trading can feel. You can sit in a room full of people and still feel isolated, carrying the emotional ups and downs of the market alone. One winning day can make you feel invincible. One brutal loss can make you question your intelligence, your future, and your self-worth. And because social media only shows the highlights, many struggling traders silently assume everyone else is succeeding while they alone are drowning emotionally. But behind many profitable traders is a long history of painful mistakes, emotional breakdowns, blown accounts, and difficult personal growth. And strangely enough, success itself can become dangerous too. That is where Hezekiah's story becomes painfully relevant. Some traders finally become profitable after years of struggle, only to become emotionally undisciplined once confidence arrives. They increase position sizes recklessly. They stop respecting rules. They start trading emotionally because winning made them feel untouchable. Pride quietly enters the room wearing the disguise of confidence. And sometimes the market gives people just enough success to expose whether they truly developed discipline or merely got temporarily rewarded. That is why trading psychology matters so much, because profitable trading is not simply about predicting candles correctly. It is about becoming emotionally stable enough to handle uncertainty without collapsing internally. It is about learning how to pause when emotions are high. It is about recognizing when fear is driving decisions. It is about noticing when greed starts whispering louder than wisdom. The market has a unique ability to magnify unresolved emotional patterns until a person finally decides to confront them honestly. But here is the hopeful part. The same market that exposes people can transform them as well. You see, trading can teach patience to the impulsive, discipline to the chaotic, emotional awareness to the disconnected, humility to the prideful, structure to the desperate, and the process can become deeply transformational if a person is willing to grow instead of simply chasing fast money. Some people enter trading hoping to build wealth and unexpectedly discovered they needed healing too. And maybe that is why stories like Hezekiah matter so much, because they remind us that emotional battles are not new. Human beings have always wrestled with fear, pressure, uncertainty, pride, exhaustion, and the temptation to lose themselves after success. The battlefield simply changes forms. For some, it was kingdoms. For others, it is relationships, health, grief, or purpose. And for many today, it is the emotional roller coaster of the market. But the deeper lesson remains the same. A person who learns to govern their inner world gains a strength that circumstances alone cannot take away. If any part of this story connected with you, you're probably realizing that trading is about so much more than charts and candles. It is deeply connected to emotion, discipline, healing, patience, fear, and the stories we carry about ourselves. So many people are secretly struggling in silence while trying to learn the market. And one of the most powerful things you can discover is that you are not alone in the process. There are people learning how to rebuild emotionally and financially at the exact same time. That is one of the reasons we created our free trading community. It is a space where people can learn structure instead of chaos. You see, inside the group, we share daily SPY levels, discuss trading psychology, and help people understand options trading in a more practical way while providing tools designed to help traders slow down and think clearly before reacting emotionally. We also offer a free Bible study guide for people who want to continue growing spiritually while learning how faith, discipline, and emotional regulation connect to the trading journey. And honestly, sometimes the greatest breakthrough is simply being around people who understand the emotional side of the process. People who understand what it feels like to doubt yourself after losses. People who know the pressure of trying to build something greater while fighting internal battles nobody else sees. Growth simply becomes easier when you stop trying to carry everything alone. So if this message encouraged you, even if just a little bit, feel free to comment and share what part spoke to you the most. You see, your words may help someone else who is quietly battling fear, frustration, discouragement right now. Sometimes one honest comment can remind another person not to give up on themselves. And if you know someone who is struggling emotionally, financially, or mentally in their trading journey, share this with them too. You never know who needs the reminder that setbacks do not have to become endings. And if you want to continue growing with us, learning the market with more structure and building emotional discipline alongside practical trading education, you are welcome to join us. Until then, keep learning, keep healing, keep growing. And remember, discipline will often take you farther than emotion ever will. You got this. Peace and blessings, Dr. your own.